The first AP poll was just released 2 days ago, and yes, I know I am a bit late to the party, but I do have some thoughts. Spoiler alert, I do think the AP poll pretty much got it right for all things considered. In this video, I'll be laying out what the AP poll got right and what the AP poll got wrong, and toward the end of the video, the second half of the video, I'll be giving my top 15 teams in my top 15 preseason ranking. All that and more coming up next. Okay, so now we will run over my teams who are overrated by this poll, underrated by this poll, and were flat out disrespected by this poll. We'll start with the overhyped teams. Illinois, very overhyped this year. Their line of scrimmage play was not great last year. They're very undersized there, in my opinion. Luke Altmaier is a very good quarterback, don't get me wrong, but they have to replace two pass catchers who really carried the receiver room, and I just don't see quite the talent that it was last season. So I do think that they will take a step back from last season. Thus, I do not think that they're a top 15 team, much less a top 12 team. SMU, I see them a little bit less overhyped than Illinois, but I do think they are a bit overhyped by this poll. I have them within the 25 to 20 range. LSU is a team that I've been harping on all offseason as a team that I am not buying. I'm selling all their stock. I'm just not a huge fan of Garrett Nussmeier as a quarterback. I still have him as one of my top 10 quarterbacks in the country, but he's in the latter half of my rankings there. Just don't see him as a very good quarterback for what everyone's making him out to be, which is a top 3 quarterback, and I just don't buy that. Chip Kelly, in my opinion, is one of the worst coaches in the SEC, and I'm just not sure that the defense will make the strides it needs to, so I'm completely out on them as a top 10 team. I think they're a top 20 team, but near that 17 to 18 range, in my opinion. Florida, way too high, in my opinion. I mean, are they playing this season a 7-on-7 flag season? Because everyone on their roster is hurt. And once they actually get to hitting people and people hitting them back in real game situations, the injuries will continue to pile up. And the injuries have piled up in camp so far. Dallas Wilson has been injured on and off. Obviously, star quarterback DJ Lagway been on and off. By the way, guys, that calf thing is not a 2-day thing. He still has not been listed on the practice reports unless things change after this video is put out. But as the time of recording, he still isn't on the practice report. So I really don't know really what to think. Graham Mertz was really a luxury for them last season because it gave them two very viable quarterback options. But Florida doesn't have a backup this year that's any good, in my opinion. So really, this could be a train wreck season for them if Lagway continues to be hurt. Even if he's healthy for the whole season, I still have questions about them, particularly in the secondary and at the receiving room as well. And Dallas Wilson being hurt on and off does not help them, in my opinion, as well. Tennessee shouldn't even be close to this. They completely downgraded at quarterback. Nico is really good. He's a very good quarterback. He was very good for them last season. And when last season they were playing a bit conservatively as well. They ran the ball a lot. If they let him uncork it a bit, I think that he would be considered a bona fide star, but he's not, and people really think that Tennessee won that deal, and they really didn't. Joey Aguilar transferred from App State to Tennessee, basically. He made a brief 2-month stop in Hollywood with UCLA, but really, Tennessee had a massive downgrade at quarterback. They lost a ton of personnel to the draft. It's just going to be an off year. I think Tennessee fans should be happy if they get to 8 wins. I really see them as a 6-win team, in my opinion. The teams that were flat out disrespected, Ole Miss. Ole Miss, in my opinion, is a top 15 team at the least. I think that they're approaching that top 10 mark. They had a fantastic portal class. I really believe in Austin Simmons, and I believe in Lane Kiffin as a coach. Georgia Tech isn't even on here, and you will see, spoiler alert, they're in my top 15. Georgia Tech brings back a ton of production. The only thing that is going to stop them, I see them a lot like I saw, where a lot of people saw Miami last season. Georgia Tech, like Miami, I think this season will be able to score a ton of points, but their defense is going to let by even more. So I see Georgia Tech as really a 9 or 10 win team. Indiana's roster is objectively better this year than it was last year. I really see them as a top 15 team. much less even a top 10 team. I know that that is a bit of a stretch, but we'll get to them later in the video. USC is not even on here. They did receive a ton of points, so they were in that top 30. But USC definitely belongs on this list. They're a top 20 team in my opinion. Now the underhyped teams, I really do see that Notre Dame is a little bit underhyped. Not, egregiously, but I think that they're better than Georgia. They just beat them. And I think that they're a touch better than some of these other teams in the top four. So I have them in my top four. Nebraska, they received a couple of votes. I have them in my top 25. Listen, third year under Matt Rule, I think that that's going to work wonders for him. Dylan Raiola, they got a bunch of weapons for him as well. So I do think that that offense is really going to maintain its strides. And people are saying how bad they think the defense is going to be. The defense was top 20 last year and the previous year, and they're running the same scheme. So it really can't go too far down, in my opinion. It can't go from the 20th ranked defense to like the 70th ranked defense. That's not something that's going to happen. The defense is going to get a little bit worse, in my opinion. I think they'll be top 30, but to say that they're going to go from top 20 to top 85 or 80 or even 70, I think is ridiculous. Texas A&M, in my opinion, is a top 15 team, so a bit underhyped, not too bad. Baylor is a team that I have as a fringe top 25 team, and they were a little bit lower in the point totals. Texas Tech, in my opinion, is a top 20 team, so a bit underhyped there as well. And just about right. These teams that you all see at the top, they got the top of the poll pretty much right. Clemson, Texas, Bama, Ohio State, Penn State, they got all that right. And I have South Carolina right at that 13 spot there as well. Now it's time to go over my top 15 teams of the preseason. Starting at number 15, I have the Michigan Wolverines. Now, they do have a little bit of a quarterback drama. I'm not sure why they brought in Jamie Garcia. If this was settled, it would be Mikey Keene as the backup and Bryce Underwood as the starter, but they brought in Jamie Garcia very late in the portal, so that does tell me that there's a bit of a problem with this quarterback room. I do think that Underwood will end up starting, but I think that they may have some growing pains at the beginning of the season, but I do see them as a very talented team, not at wide receiver, but pretty much everywhere else. I think the line of scrimmage is very good. I really do like that running back room, and the whole defense pretty much is very solid as well. At number 14, I have, yes, the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. They bring back a ton. Haynes King, when he's healthy, is one of the better quarterbacks in the country. I had him in my top 10 quarterbacks list. I think that I ranked him either 5 or 6. So when he's healthy, and that is for most of the season, he's one of the best quarterbacks, a true dual threat. They bring back their starting running back who tallied over 1,000 yards, and they got a guy in Eric Rivers out of the portal who I really like. The defense, like I said, will be leaky, but that'll come with the territory, and I think the Yellow Jackets will be very good this season. At number 13, I have the South Carolina Gamecocks knocking on the door of that 12-team playoff. Just like the AP poll had, I have them at 13th. Lenore Sellers is going to be able to cover up a lot of the holes on this roster because this roster has the most holes out of any team in my top 15, but they have the most potential and really the most talented stars, in my opinion, with Dylan Stewart on the edge and Lenore Sellers. Dylan Stewart's going to be able to make up for a leaky secondary because he'll be able to get to the pass rush. He'll be able to get to the passer very quickly. And on the offensive side of the ball, Lenore Sellers will be able to really, erase some of those roster holes at particularly wide receiver and possibly a leaky offensive line. Okay, so we're going to speed things up a little bit, going 4 at a time for the next 3 segments. So at 12, I have Ole Miss, 11, Arizona State, 10, Indiana. So I do think that Indiana cracks the top 10 in my poll at least. And then Bama at 9. Ole Miss, I think, is criminally underrated. Like I said, Austin Simmons is a very good quarterback in my opinion, and he plays in a safe system. That wide receiver room is borderline elite, and they have a ton of great transfers coming in, a lot of blue chip talent that I think will help them in the end, and I do believe in Lane Kiffin as a coach, like I said before. Arizona State, the highest ranked Big 12 team, although, spoiler alert, I don't have them winning the Big 12. I think that Arizona State is power rated ahead of Kansas State, but I do think Kansas State, who is in my 16 to 20 range, I think that they will end up doing it due to strength of schedule, and Arizona State plays a tougher schedule in my opinion. And Arizona State, really, the main thing with them is replacing Cam Scatabo, who took up a ton of plays for them. He ran the ball a lot for them and was kind of the lifeblood of that offense. Now Sam Levitt and Jordan Tyson really have to step it up, and I think they will, but which is why I have them at 11. Indiana at 10. Their roster this year is objectively better than last year, and they bring back a ton of guys from last year, guys like Mikhail Kamara, guys like Elijah Surratt, who will only get better the longer they play, in my opinion. At 9, this is where you can see a clear cut between Indiana and Bama, between the elite teams and the great teams, in my opinion. So elite teams, really starting with Bama. Bama, I think that they will stay here. Really, their calling card this year are going to be their safeties and their lines of scrimmage. Their lines of scrimmage are really good. They're borderline elite on the offensive line and defensive line, and at safety, I think they have one of the best safety tandems in the league. Problem places could be at quarterback and at linebacker, in my opinion. So that's why the problem spot for me is at quarterback. I'm not sure that I trust their quarterback all that much, which is why I have them at 9. The next 4 teams being 8 through 5. At number 8, I have Miami, 7, Georgia, Oregon at 6, and Notre Dame at 5. Miami, I have them as the 8th ranked team. I really do believe in Carson Beck. I think that he is a really good quarterback. Their defensive struggles last year will be largely erased this year. I think that they get really better on defense, especially Corey Heatherman coming in as defensive coordinator. I think that was a fantastic hire. And plus, their portal class was insane. They brought in a ton of really, really talented guys, and their big calling card this year is going to be their offensive line. They're going to be able to impose their will on everyone else. At 7, I have Georgia. Georgia is always going to be here, whether they have some roster holes or not. They're going to be here always. Their defensive line this year is very, very scary. I really do think that their defensive line is going to be able to wreak havoc. They've made a ton of strides in order to get that wide receiver room right, and I think that they did that through the portal. And overall, this Georgia team has the best coached, their best coaching staff in the country, so that's why I have them at 7. Oregon at 6. I know that they sustained some injuries, but they're one of the most talented teams in the country. If you go look at the past 2 recruiting cycles and measure each class by average point value assigned to high school recruits, Oregon's number 1 in the past 2 cycles. Which means that those players are finally coming to fruition. They're still young, but they're extremely talented. Oregon getting Dante Moore in at quarterback, I think that he is going to be a game changer for them. And on the defensive line, Mateo Uyunglele going to be a fantastic player as well. Notre Dame at 5. They have staying power, in my opinion, under Coach Marcus Freeman. I think he's one of the best head coaches in the country. I think that he's a top 5 head coach in the country. You'd be pushing it if you said top 3, but I think that he has a case for it. CJ Carr at quarterback, I believe that he will start for them, and I think that him being more of a pocket passer really does help out this team. Their offensive line is pretty good. Their wide receivers especially are good, and their defense is tenacious as ever. Moving into my top 4 here, very similar to the AP poll at number 4, I have Ohio State. The only reason I have them below Clemson, Penn State, and Texas is because of the quarterback situation there. Julian Saint, I think, is going to be a very good quarterback, but he doesn't have the experience really that the Clemson quarterback does and the Penn State quarterback does, and frankly, Arch Manning does either. So I do think that Ohio State will be very good this year, which is why I have them 4, but not 3. I think that the highest you would put Ohio State is 3, and but the AP poll put them at 2. I think that that's slightly overrated. I have Ohio State at 4, though, likewise contending for the national title. I don't think that their running back room is as good as it was last year, and their offensive line, I think, is not as good as it was last year as well. At number 3, the Clemson Tigers. I really do believe that this is the year for Dabo. If any year is going to be the year going forward, it's going to be this year because they haven't been particularly great in recruiting these past couple cycles, and looking forward at the 26 and 27 class, they haven't been particularly great. So I think they're all in on this year, and they have the roster to do it. I think it's the best roster that he's had since that 2018 national title team. At number 2, Penn State. Penn State returned pretty much everyone on their roster. I think that Drew Allar's a top 2 quarterback right there with Cade Klubnik of the Clemson Tigers. Penn State has the best running back room, one of the best offensive lines, a really underrated wide receiver core, and one of the best defenses in the country. You can't lose putting them at 2. And then at number 1, I've had them at 1 really since the spring, the Texas Longhorns. I think the AP poll got this completely correct. And when I did my deep dive on Texas, it only made me more assertive in this point, looking through their roster and who they have. They're the most talented team, in my opinion, by far. Oregon has a case to be that, but I think that Texas has the most talented team in the country. Arch Manning, I think, really will pan out, and I see their wide receiver core as a really good one. All right, this is the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. I operate here a smaller channel, but every subscription does count at this point, and looking for that goal of 500 subscribers. We are almost there. We are in double-digit numbers away from that. Let's try and hit that. That's my goal. Let's set a like goal here for 20. If we can hit 20 likes, that would be great. And I will not keep you any longer. Thank you so much for watching, and have a blessed rest of your day.